hopper, basking in the sun, dancing and a hopping, having lots of fun. A bit of sand landed in that hopper's eye, and the little sandhopper said, my, oh my, I got one leg missing. I got one leg missing.
I got one leg missing.
How do I get around?
Jackson made Meet the Feebles in a derelict railway's goods shed. For the winter of '89, Shed 12 became a Feebles factory. Reporter Kevin Isherwood talked to Peter Jackson about Feebles and filmmaking.
One of my favourite quotes is from Alfred Hitchcock, and he says that I don't make films that are slices of life, I make slices of cake. And that's a marvellous quote, and it's exactly the sort of thing that I think as well. I mean, the films that I want to make or have made are definitely slices of cake.
Meet Heidi, the hippo, star of the Feebles variety show. Cake is just one of her vices. She has her hands full, satisfying her fans, her lover, and her healthy appetite.
Will that be all, Frau Heidi?
Something to take away, maybe?
I mean, I'm quite a selfish filmmaker, and the movies that I'm making are exactly the type of films that I would want to go out and watch myself. So I just think that the movie making is an extension of a sort of childhood fantasies, because as a kid I was always playing with wooden bricks and creating castles and matchbox toys and creating little stories in my head, and I just don't think I've ever grown out of that phase. The reason why I started making these little films was really because I was wanting to put my models onto film. I just used to love model making, kit sets, making things out of cardboard, and I just was intrigued by the idea of actually shooting these models and making little stories up. I never wanted to become a director. That was never my ambition for a long time. I just wanted to be a special effects man in the movies. It was not until later that I started to do little story movies.
In 1987, Jackson made his first assault on the cinema-going public with Bad Taste. A sci-fi splatter comedy, it began as a 10-minute home movie shot on weekends. But after 4 years, it developed into a full-length cinema feature. Today, it's a cult movie. Jackson's outrageous visual tricks make a shocking mess on the big screen.
The type of shocks that are in the Feebles are similar to the type of shocks that are in Bad Taste, in that you are showing something pretty extreme that is so ridiculous that it can't help but make people laugh. I mean, that's exactly the type of humour that I like. I mean, I don't like making shocking films, I don't like making violent films, I don't like violence, but I like humour, and there is that type of humour that is savage.
Oh, what am I gonna do now? It took me 6 months to train that lot.
There is this incredibly magical part to it at the beginning, where you're basically writing it or creating it in your head with other people, and you're coming up with the ideas and you're seeing it all in your mind as the perfect movie. And then it suddenly turns into a factory, which is this nasty bit in the middle, which you have to actually get nuts and bolts and hammers and nails and a lot of people and put the images onto film. And it's never as good as you see in your mind. It's always depressing, and it's a lot of hard work, and it goes on for months and months. And then it slowly becomes magical again. It's used almost like claws its way back from being this thing that's come off a production line into becoming something that's magical as you're editing the pictures together, and you're adding sound effects and you're adding music, and step by step, and finally in the end you're back to a magical product.
Puppet maker Cameron Chittick had the task of creating the feeble cast.
Certainly creatively it's been pretty good. You know, like 100 characters. I've had a lot of freedom, and it's certainly progressed my puppet making ability quite a bit. Being forced to make that many characters quickly, you have to make some decisions pretty quickly. But also the pressure in terms of having to get all the puppets made on time with very little money has been pretty tough going too.
Pretty intense.
Yeah, and other things happens too whereby you know, you've just completed the puppet. You know, you've sweated away for 7 days to get this puppet made, and then Peter will come along and say, oh, it's great. You know, it's really, really good. But wouldn't it be nice if the eyes could move? You know, we've just made the puppet so it doesn't have moving eyes and it's got eyelids, but and it's
back to the drawing board.
Yeah. The whale was a puppet maker's nightmare to build. It's at least 20 feet long, and it takes no less than 6 people to drive it. It's the largest puppet in the film, but it had to be capable of having some very quick, violent movements, which is pretty difficult to get with such a large puppet.
The Feebles are made of cheap stuff, just plastic foam and glue. So puppet maker doubles as puppet surgeon.
Heidi's hands have been through the wars quite a bit. She's had to eat chocolate cake, she's had to carry a very heavy machine gun, so the hands need to be replaced. A lot of the other puppets have their heads blown off, their arms blown away, shotgun wounds in the bodies and all this sort of thing, so those parts have to be replaced quite regularly. It's quite a major part of my job is actually to maintain the puppets as well.
Inside the railway shed, the world of the Feebles is constructed from scrap metal, hardboard, plastic and demolition timber and rebuilt daily. For the 3-month shoot, as Jackson films one scene, in another part of the shed the crew recycle and repaint for the next.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Oh my God.
Paid only half the industry's hourly rate, they have to find small budget solutions to big budget problems. Like model maker Richard Taylor, their payoff is the unique experience.
Richard, making a stretch model limo Maury sounds like a lot of fun, but it probably is quite difficult.
Yeah, a very tricky one. This one is probably one of the more difficult tasks that I've been set as far as a model maker goes. The Maury is famous because it is made up of a series of curves. There isn't actually a straight line in a Morris Minor. So as you can imagine, when you tackle this in a model making form, it becomes quite a major task. It's made up of complex convex curves that not only follow the lines of the panel one way, but also follow the bodywork the opposite way.
Well, this is the original, or this is the one that's in the film, the stretch limo, isn't it? Why can't you use that instead of going to all this trouble?
Well, the reason that in film miniatures are used is either because of a monetary problem, or you want to create an environment that you can't create in real life. Either you want, for money, or it's just not feasible because of materials or the locations. So we're going to create a location that appeals to the director's ideas, and to do that we've got to create miniatures, build everything small.
Without giving too much away, then what is this model going to get up to?
Well, this model, it's not you think miniatures has been small scale models. This model is actually going to be 1.2 meters long. It's got to be large because it's got to do a number of things. That is, it's got to be able to steer and power along and turn and skid. It also at one stage drives into the whale's mouth to actually kill off the whale and pops out his tail.